The Consumer Hour with Dean Dunham.
Last year, a lady called Carole Keeble highlighted to me the mass problems in the static caravan sector and the appalling way that consumers are being treated by park owners. Now, she set up a Facebook page to help consumers with this, and it now has 20,000 followers, which gives you an idea how big a problem this really is. And over the past 18 months, I've heard from thousands of these poor consumers and heard one shocking story after the other. Carole joins me now to highlight some of the issues and to talk about why she's on this crusade to effectively clean up the industry. Good evening, Carole.
Good evening, Dean.
So, Carole, look, I know that you're on a big crusade to help these poor static caravan owners. Let me start by asking you this. Why are you doing this?
I actually bought a static caravan and saw a lot of these problems firsthand, not just with me, but with quite a few other people that were on the park I was on. That's what got me looking at all of this, really. Now,
one of the big complaints I've been hearing is people telling me, well, they agreed a pitch fee. That's the fee, for anyone that doesn't know, that you pay each year to effectively have your caravan on the land. The pitch fee is cited in the contract, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue every year, the fee is increased and there's nothing you can do about it. Out of your 20,000 people that are on your site, how many of those are experiencing that problem?
20,000.
So it really is that bad. Everyone is experiencing that. What's the worst increase that you've heard of?
Oh, it's thousands, literally thousands. It can be anything, any number. It's just, it has to be seen to be believed. It really does.
And you say any number. Again, one of the things that I've heard and I've experienced with speaking with people is that it really is any number. They're almost plucking it out of the air. There's no formulae to this. Is that your experience as well?
Indeed, it is, because there's no set reasons for the increase. The increase isn't broken down. You don't know what the pitch fee entails. You don't know what you're paying what for. So, you can't have a breakdown of costs for fear of being removed from the park.
And one of the other things that I've been hearing many people tell me about, they've been evicted or they've known people that have been evicted for all sorts of reasons. One of the main reasons seems to be they say, actually, we don't like the look of your caravan anymore, or it doesn't look so shiny and new anymore. Buy a brand new one or you're off the park. Have you seen much of that?
Yes, especially lately with the staycation boom. Everybody's caravan seems to be not up to standard all of a sudden, and these people are all being evicted. And I'm not talking about one or two. I'm talking about 30, 40 people at a time are having to leave a caravan that is not up to standard. They're given a pittance for that van. That van doesn't leave the park. It is then sold on to somebody else.
What are the other key things that people are complaining about?
Their rights. There are no rights. They're complaining that there is nowhere to complain. There is no complaints procedure. If you go to the general manager in the first instance, he'll tend to ignore you. You go to head office, and head office will tell you to go to the general manager. That's the extent of the complaints procedure. So there is nowhere to go other than come to my page. Now people are doing that. Parks are now writing into their license agreements and they cannot do that on social media.
What are the other big issues that static caravan owners are experiencing?
Eviction, mainly. They can be evicted for any reason. Told to leave the parks for speaking out on social media, simply asking for information on refunds, involving an MP. We even had a 70-year-old that had COVID. He had to stay on the park during COVID, which was a government incentive to allow them to do that. But once that had been lifted, he was then given 14 days to leave and take his van, which of course he couldn't. He still had COVID issues going on and actually had to move into a park down the road.
That really is a shocking story. The other thing that many people have told me is that if they complain and they say the words legals, solicitors or courts, they are simply evicted from the park. And what the park then does is they basically say, we're evicting you because the relationship has broken down. And the contract in those circumstances, that's the license agreement, allows us to do this. For any of my listeners who are thinking staycations are now trendy, this is now the thing to do, I shouldn't travel. I've heard Dean on LBC saying, it's very dangerous to go abroad at the moment because you might lose your money. What would you say if any of my listeners in that camp are thinking, maybe I'll buy a static caravan?
I would say rethink, rethink, rethink. There are far too many issues and no protection to pay out so much money.
That was Carole Keeble, the founder of the Facebook group Holiday Group Action, set up to help static caravan owners who are being treated badly at the hands of park owners. If you're one of those caravan owners and you're being treated badly, do join the group. It's very useful for you to compare notes and stories with other people, and there's lots of good advice being handed out by that group as well. Or if you are one of these poor static caravan owners and you want to ask me a question, give me a call now on 0345 6060 973 or send me a text to 84850. You'll also find lots of information on my YouTube channel called The Consumer Lawyer, where I've done lots of videos on this actually, just for static caravan owners, and lots of live streams. So you will find lots of information there as well. I just want to say this before we go back to the calls. We've heard recently, I think I announced a few weeks ago on this show, that the Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, has been told it should be getting some sharper teeth, some more powers to bring traders to task when they are not abiding by consumer laws. Well, CMA, on behalf of tens of thousands of static caravan owners, I ask you to investigate this sector, use those sharper teeth, use those additional powers when you get them to try and clean up a sector that is awful. And if you heard all of the horror stories that I've been hearing, and by the way, I haven't got time this evening to read them all out, but I am going to be putting lots of links on my Twitter. So if you want to see about some of these stories, do join me on my Twitter, or follow me, I should say, on Twitter, at Dean Dunham, and you'll see lots of information there. It really has to be seen to believe